Hey everybody, and welcome to or back to my channel, My Kind of Stuff. And today we are going to talk about my April wrap up. So I feel like in the month of April, especially towards the end of the month, I really got like my reading groove back. My body's finally like adjusted to getting up so early now and going into the office, and I'm not feeling so tired and run down at the end of the day. Um, So I did a decent amount of reading this month, which I'm really proud of, really excited for. I didn't have any five-star reads though. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I had a few that I did enjoy quite a bit, but just nothing stood out as like a perfect book to me. So I'm a little disappointed in that. In fact, I don't think I've had a five-star read since the beginning of like February. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting more picky or I'm just not picking up the right stuff. But anyway, let's talk about what we read. To start off the month of April, I read Thistlefoot by Jenna Rose Nethercott. I read this for a Goodreads challenge, but also it's kind of been on my radar since it came out a few years ago. This is a Baba Yaga retelling. I ended up giving this one 3 stars. It was just kind of mid for me. Um, it felt a little long and drawn out. Some of the characters were really interesting. I still had fun like along the way with it. It just you'd hit some parts and you're like, okay, come on, can we pick up the pace? And honestly, like this kind of fantasy normally doesn't do it for me anyway. I don't know why I keep picking it up, but I do. So whatever. I didn't hate it, so hey, that's something. The next book that I read in April was one that I was super looking forward to, and that is First Time Caller by BK Borison. I picked this copy up from Book of the Month. I have read a few other books by BK Borison and absolutely loved all of them. However, this one I only gave 3.5 stars. Again, it was just kind of mid. It was fine. It was pretty long though, and I don't think it needed to be as long as it was. I wish we had more interactions between him and her child, because I think like her child calling into the radio station and just like throwing her mom totally under the bus was some of the funniest, best parts of the book. Um, and I don't know, I didn't really buy into the relationship at all. It didn't really make any sense to me. Like, I don't know. It was cute once they were like together, but I didn't understand how they developed feelings from like a phone call or like a radio conversation. Um, Overall, I don't know. It was cute. I believe this is book one of a new series of hers, so I will definitely try and continue because, like I said, I've loved everything else that I've read by this author. Uh, this one, just in particular, was kind of a miss for me. Then I decided I wanted to get caught back up on the Neon Gods series. Book 8 in the series came out at the beginning of April, I believe on the 1st. And that book was on my 25 in 2025, and that was called Sweet Obsession. But I hadn't read book 7 yet. So I actually read book 7 and 8 in a row. So that was Dark Restraint and Sweet Obsession. I surprisingly didn't hate these. um, the series started off really strong for me, and then the last few books have kind of been pretty meh. Dark Restraint, I ended up giving 3 stars. Again, it was fine. But then I read Sweet Obsession, and I gave that one 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. Um, each of these books obviously follows like a different person in Olympus, or a different group of people, I suppose. They're all romances, right? Sweet Obsession was our first male romance. We have had poly couples and that kind of stuff in these series so far, but this one was our first strictly male-male romance, and it was so cute. These two, oh my gosh, I ate them up. I love a captor-captive situation, and that's what we got here in Sweet Obsession. Um, so yeah, I was really happy with that one, especially after reading like three other three-star books in a row. I just needed something to hit, and that was the first one that really hit for me. In Dark Restraint, we were following Ariadne and her kind of love story with the Minotaur, who's kind of there as like a protector to her, but they're definitely not meant to be together. But just seeing their relationship from like childhood and growing up together and all the things that she did to make his life better was really cute and really sweet. I don't know, I was bored by the plot in that book. Um, it was kind of just following a lot of story and plot lines that we'd already dealt with in previous books, and I think that's why that one got a 3-star for me, is just because I was kind of over it at that point, and I was ready to, like, move on to some new characters. We've been This is the first book that, like, the Minotaur gets his romance in, right? But, like, he's been in all the other books as, like, this bad guy, and I was just bored with him and ready for something different. And I don't think I actually said, but Sweet Obsession is, Icarus and Poseidon. And Olympus in this world is undergoing so many changes. We're getting new gods taking over and ruling and trying to make a lot of changes to make Olympus better. And that really shined in this book. The plot got a little more interesting again. So yeah, I'm really excited for the series to continue. I believe book 9 comes out in the beginning of December. So we still got a ways to go for that one, but I believe that one is a Hera and Zeus retelling, and I'm so excited to get some more backstory on the new Zeus and Hera in this series. So yeah, excited for that one as well. Then next up, I read Praise by Sarah Kate. Another book I gave 4 stars. I liked this a lot more than I thought I would. Um, this is book 1 of the Salacious Players Club series. So unfortunately started yet another new series, even though I was trying to finish things up. But at least I got caught up with Neon Gods. Um, I love an age gap romance, and this was that exactly. It was also her ex's dad. Um, and obviously, the whole situation around the club or whatever was kind of ridiculous. How he brought her on to work there was kind of ridiculous. It was by no means a perfect book, but it was a steamy, spicy, good time. I loved the will they, won't they tension because, again, she was previously dating his son. So it was kind of like he felt like, oh, I shouldn't do this. I shouldn't want her. But obviously, things happen. And I'm actually excited to continue this series. I think there were a few characters that we met along the way in this story that, like, I'm really excited to see where their journey goes. Um, couple of like his friends who I thought were really interesting characters. And yeah, so I'm really excited to continue this series, and it's one that I'll probably pick up again sometime soon. Next up, I read To Sleep in a Sea of Stars by Christopher Pelloni. I gave this one 3.5 stars. Um, it was a pretty chunky book, not gonna lie, and it took me quite a bit to get through it. I feel like there was a lot of repetitive scenes happening in the first like half of this book. And for how long it is, I mean, it's almost 900 pages. That's a slog to get through in the beginning when it's just doing the same thing over and over again. It was like rinse and repeat with a different group of people. But I don't know. It got really boring. But then the last half really picked up and got a lot better. So I'm glad that I pushed through and continued on. There is another book in this series, the Fractal Verse. I believe it might be a prequel to this one. Um, I may get to it at some point. It's definitely not a high priority, especially seeing as like I didn't absolutely love this one. Um, but again, by the end, I was having fun with it, so I'm not totally against reading it at some point. But this was a lot, and I think it was just too much for my brain right now. Like I said, I finally felt like I was in a good reading spot for the month, but I think maybe it was too soon to take on a book of this size that is in a genre that like I don't typically read, so it takes more of my focus to like understand what's happening. Um, but overall, it was okay. Next up, I read When the Reckoning Comes by Latanya McQueen. I ended up giving this one 4 stars. I read this book for, well, because of my TBR game, it picked it. But the prompt was for one of the 101 horror books to read before you're murdered. So this was one of the next ones that I needed to read. I really liked this more than I thought I would. Historical fiction, when it comes to horror, doesn't always hit for me. But I think this one was, it was it was historical, but it was also modern. We follow our female main character, who is a Black woman who returns to her hometown for a wedding that is on a plantation. Um, and it kind of like we get flashbacks to when they were kids, and the bloody history behind the plantation. And then, like, we keep jumping back and forth to modern day while she's there for the wedding. And, like, there's some really weird things happening at the plantation. The people that own it now are doing, like, reenactments of, like, the slaves and stuff for the guests coming to the plantation to stay. I don't know. It was really weird. But there's just a lot of eerie creepiness going on. This is also kind of like a ghost story. It had just a lot of weird, really creepy elements, but also some like really good conversations about the things that happened in the Deep South. Um, so overall, yeah, I think this was a really good one. This was on the shorter side. I think it's like just over 200 pages. And again, you know me with like shorter stories and novellas, I generally feel like they're a little bit lacking. They can't put enough time to like build into it. It's very rushed. And I think that's where this one failed a little bit for me. And that's why it only got a 4, is it felt very rushed. We moved along really quickly in the story. Then next up, I read Lords of Pain by Angel Lawson and Samantha Rue. This was our Love and Horror book club pick for the month of April, so I'm not going to talk about it too much yet. I know we're a little behind on live shows. Life's been really rough with me, like adjusting to going back to office, and then I was really sick for a couple months. So we're gonna have to do one big live show discussing the last couple months worth of books. So I will say that I gave this one 4 stars. Looking back on it, I think that's a little too high, and I think I'm gonna change my rating to a 3 star. I was talking about it with Jenny a little bit, and I was like, I read this like 2 weeks ago, and I can't recall a single thing that happened. Like while I was reading it, I wasn't hating it. It was like kind of dumb and goofy. The university settings don't always work for me. I feel like younger people make really dumb decisions, and I'm just like, why are you doing this? Um, but again, until like I was talking to her about it, and she was like saying things that like triggered it in my mind, I was like, I truly don't remember what I even read. So yeah, I think we're gonna have to lower our rating from a 4 down to a 3 of this one. Then next up, I read Halloween by John Passarella. I give this one 3.5 stars. This is following the like newer arc of Halloween where Laurie Strode has like her daughter and her granddaughter with her. Um, so yeah, that's where we are here. I think that the story itself was told really well. It followed the movie pretty much exactly. There wasn't all that much added in here. I was hoping to get a little something different, but I guess because it's a movie novelization, doesn't really make sense to add much. Um, but I think the scenes with Michael were a little lackluster. Like you got all this good tension building when we were following, everybody running from him. But when we got to the scenes with like his kills and stuff, I feel like they were very like glazed over. And it just left me wanting a lot more. Like this is Michael Myers, right? It's about him and how brutal he is. And we didn't get that. We got how scared Lori and her family are and like all the crazy psychotic things going on in Lori's mind as she's trying to like hunker down in her bunker and protect her family, but it's still Michael's story and we didn't get I don't know, I felt like Michael was kind of just an afterthought in here. So that's why I gave it 3.5 stars. It was still fun and engaging and like I wanted to keep reading it, but a little let down by that. Next up, I read The Rivaled Crown by Holly Renee. This one just released back in, I think, the middle of March, and it was also on my 25 and 2025. This is book 3 in the Veiled Kingdom series. It is the final book. Another one that I felt really let down by this month. I ended up giving it only 3 stars. I absolutely ate up the first book. I still really enjoyed the second. I don't know what happened here in this one. First of all, this book is like double the length of the rest of them, I feel like. Um, it was way longer than it needed to be, too. It was like almost 500 pages, I think. It was just too much. And I feel like we like wrapped it up in the first like third of the book. Like we wrapped up the story in a really nice, neat little package. And then we decided to tear it open again and then close it again. And I really wasn't like understanding how we got there. Like, I don't know. I felt like it could have ended a third into the book and it would have been a better ending than the ending we actually got. So yeah, another one. It was fine, but I was just a little let down by the way it ended. And maybe that's just a me thing. Other people could still really enjoy it. It was still, really spicy. It was still fun, but it lost the tension that books 1 and 2 had really early on. And then after that tension was gone between our two main characters, I lost interest pretty quickly, um, especially considering how long it was. Because the others, I think, were both under 300 pages or like just 300 pages. So, yeah, this one was just whatever. It was a miss for me. It was fine, but I wish it would have wrapped up better. Next up, I read Someone You Can Build a Nest In by John Wiswell. This is another book that I gave 4 stars. I thought this was pretty darn fun. Again, it's one of those like, I don't know, one of those fantasy books that could go either way for me. Um, I think this one just happened to be a hit because it had some horror elements to it. Um, but I don't know that I would call it a true horror. I almost want to call it a cozy fantasy, but that doesn't really seem fair because there's definitely some gruesome elements in here. But it is an LGBTQ fantasy horror romance. And we follow the monster in this one, which I think is really fun, and that's why I enjoyed it so much. Um, our monster is kind of like just residing in this mansion as a lump on the floor. She's perfectly content to do so until these hunters come into the mansion and She has to try to escape, ends up getting injured and taken in and healed by this human woman, and they end up kind of falling in love in this weird way because, like, obviously our monster, she's a shapeshifter and she doesn't really fully understand human emotion and connection. And I think a lot of the ways that our monster describes like human mannerisms and stuff is just like really fun and silly and lighthearted, but like also a really heavy story, especially like our female main character that is the human, just her like toxic family and her overcoming this, um and her monster being like so overly protective in like a hurt who hurt you kind of a way. It was just really really cute. I think this one would be a really good book for a lot of people even if you don't like love horror. um I don't think it leans too much into that. It's more horror in the fact that like she's a monster, right? And she does a few monstrous things, but like it's also her learning how to be more human and like learn to be loved and accepted and be more honest and forthcoming with who and what she is. Because she's a shapeshifter, so like she doesn't have to let people on to what she is, but she wants to. Um, because of this partnership and love that she finds with this human. So I don't know. It was a really great story. I really loved it. Um, but again, it just didn't quite feel 5-star material to me. I don't really know why, because now like hearing me talk about it, I'm just like gushing about how much I enjoyed it, but I just also felt like I was just missing something to bring it to the next level for me. Um, I think had it leaned more into the horror, that probably would have made me give it 5 stars. But yeah, overall, still a really enjoyable time. So next up, I decided to get caught up in another series, and that is Rebel Blue Ranch. So I read Wild and Wrangled by Layla Sage. This one just came out in the middle of April as well. So proud of myself for getting to it so quickly. Um, yeah, this is Cam and Dusty's story. We've kind of been following these two characters through all of the other books. So I feel like a lot of the things happening in this book felt a little repetitive to me if I look at it as the series as a whole. But just as like a standalone, if you were just to pick this up, I think it's fantastic. I ended up giving it 4 stars because again, I felt like a lot of this was repeated in some of the previous books, because this is kind of the last couple. So, like, we've been seeing them dance around together, you know, through the other 3 stories. And I feel like this didn't bring enough newness to it, but I still love me some cowboys. It was still really cute. I love when there's a kid involved. And especially because I think the previous book did a really good job making us like absolutely love this little girl. So just seeing the way Dusty interacts with her and like learns how to intertwine himself into their lives was really cute and sweet. Cam is definitely not my favorite character. She's very uptight, but also I feel a little bad for her. Just because of her family. They're really shitty people, and I love how like protective Dusty is of them, and he just wants what's best for her. And she also wants what's best for like her and her daughter. And I think that's why she leaves herself in these crappy situations where she's unhappy, and like that's why she still deals with her family, is because she wants what's best for her daughter. Um and Dusty kind of shows her like that's no way to live. So, it was really cute, really sweet. And again, gave it 4 stars. Probably could have been 5 had it not been so repetitive to the rest of the series. But again, as a standalone, I think it was really great. And then I decided to get caught back up on Solo Leveling, if only for a few weeks. I read volume 11. I ended up giving this one 4 stars as well. We had some really cute moments in this book. And we're also like introducing a lot of new characters to the story instead of just monsters. So I'm really excited to meet this new like gang of bad guys that we kind of just met at the end of this volume. And volume 12 comes out at the end of May, mid to end of May. So I don't have that long to wait before I get to read the next volume. So I'm really excited to continue this series. You guys know how much I love it. I actually just finished watching season 2 of the show this week. That was amazing as well. The voice actor for Genu, oh, top tier. He's so good. So definitely also recommend the show if you guys have Crunchyroll. The voice actor for the English dubbed is amazing. So good. But again, these graphic novels are really great too, and they're also really beautiful. I love the art and the coloration of them. So yeah, overall, 4 stars. Really enjoyed this one as well, and so excited to continue. Then I was still in my manga mood, so I picked up Dark Gathering Volume 4. Um, I've been really enjoying this series. I started watching the show, but like only got an episode or 2 in and decided I wanted to read it first. Um, because I was really enjoying it and I thought it was really cute. And I tend to like to read the story before I watch it. I don't know why. I think I like to get my own idea in my head of these characters and then like just see how animation brings them to light in a new way to me. But I really thought they did a great job with this volume. I gave it 4 stars. We are finally like really getting into the nitty-gritty of the story. Volumes 1 through 3 were a lot of setup of our 3 main characters and kind of getting their backstory, explaining why they're doing what they're doing. And now we're getting to like the meat and potatoes of their investigative work, hunting down these ghosts and collecting them and going to all of these dangerous places. They have like an action plan now of all these places they need to go and what they need to do. Also, the relationship between Kitaro and Yayoi are like, because he's her tutor and she's very little, but she very much looks up to him. She appreciates him, and it's kind of really heartwarming seeing them together. So, yeah, really enjoyed this one as well. All right, and the very last book that I read for the month of April was Cricket Kingdom by Lee Bardugo. This is book 2 in the Six of Crows series. I think I waited too long to read this. It's been years since I read the first book, and I think that I didn't remember the characters well enough to care anymore. Like, I probably should have reread the first book before reading this one, and maybe it would have been a little more impactful. But at the same time, this is also a YA fantasy, which really have not been working for me. Um, I don't know. I ended up giving this one 3.5 stars. I don't want to say it was bad. It wasn't. We're still following Kaz Brecker and his crew of outcasts. In book 1, they're doing this like big heist that no one else is capable of pulling off. And now in this book, we're kind of following up to that storyline, and we're right back into the thick of things, fighting for our characters' lives again. We're got double crossed, so our characters are trying to navigate that. There's just a lot of like secrets, and there's this drug going around, and we're basically just watching them kind of try to bumble through and change the game here because they're all badly weakened from the events of the first book. Um, so it was interesting, but again, I really couldn't give it higher than a 3.5 because I just didn't care anymore. Book 1 was pretty great. I think I gave that one 4 stars. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I should have reread it and it would have been better, but honestly, I didn't care enough to reread it. I'm just happy we have another series completed that was sitting on my shelves for years now. And yeah, that being said, that is it. That is all the books that I read for the month of April. I'm really proud of myself. We had some really chunky books on there. Um, and this is honestly the most I've read, I think, besides the month of January. I think that was still a normal month for me, but really proud of myself for getting back in the swing of things, having fun reading again, enjoying reading again, and excited to continue that momentum hopefully in the coming months. So, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. Let me know down in the comments below if there were any books that you read in April that were standout reads and you think I should check out, because I'm always looking for recommendations. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe, give the video a thumbs up on your way out, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.